Welcome everyone to another episode of Classic Mode, the podcast where we play old games so you don't have to.
I think someone else has that tagline.
And also, that's like the opposite, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to get people to play these things.
I mean, like, don't go play Super Mario 64, but, other than that, yeah, I suppose.
I disagree.
Of course you do. This week, because we do this on a weekly basis, no.
Sure.
This time, it is a lesser-known game called Luigi's Mansion Ion 1. No. The first Luigi's Mansion, released on GameCube back in whenever the fuck it was released. I'm not sure when it was released. When was it released?
2001?
That's what I wanted to say, but I'm not sure.
Buddy,
I don't know.
it's an old game. Yeah, so we played through that. It's not a particularly long game, but yeah, I think did we all play it before? Have we all played this game before?
Yes.
Yes.
I've never finished it before. I have played it.
Oh. Didn't know.
Yeah.
So I suppose first, given how this feels more relevant, before we get into kind of our thoughts on it, discuss about what platform we played on, and more specifically what version we played as well. So I played on the Dolphin emulator, and I played the PAL version, I believe. Keenan, which version did you play?
I played the NTSC version on Dolphin.
Kyle?
I played on the emulator, whichever one that Keenan used.
NTSC then.
NTSC was true. Yeah, and Nico.
I'm the same. NTSC on Dolphin.
I was really hoping that someone had played the 3DS version.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
I realised halfway through, I was like, crap, there's a 3DS version. I could have played that. Oh, well.
So,
Yeah.
I just had a thought. And this is already a tangent, but I don't care. I'm hosting this show, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I had a distinct memory, and I might have been making this up, of, the mirrors you can take a picture of. And this is back to the foyer. I had a distinctive memory of being able to take a picture of one of the mirrors and it flip the mansion around.
Oh, no.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I just made it up in my head. I guess I must have.
I think you made
because
that
I
up.
couldn't
Are you
find any reference to it.
Are you sure you're not, getting the confusion of the Mystery Mansion? Because in the PAL version, it does flip it around when you do Mystery Mansion.
Oh, that's probably what I remember. Because it didn't happen this time. Even when I went to the Mystery Mansion, it didn't happen. I was very disappointed when that didn't happen. Anyway, shall we go through and see what people's thoughts were going into it? Is that how we want to
Yeah?
go forward?
General
Alright,
thoughts.
yeah. Kyle, why don't you start us off?
I've played this game before, and for some reason, going into it, I was very much in that mindset of all right, here we go, fucking one of these old, weird, Nintendo games that's esoteric as fuck. I'm going to spend ages on these puzzles, it's going to make no sense, and they're going to take forever. I'm ready for it, let's go. Right. And then it wasn't that. I feel like I blasted through this game, and I don't know if it's because it was actually just, well made, or if it's because I just remembered everything. Because I don't know. I didn't think I knew the game that well, but apparently I do, because I just, every time I entered into a room, I was like, oh, I remember what I gotta do here. Almost every time. And unfortunately, because we've all played this game, I don't think any of us can actually give a different perspective.
Well, when I say that I'd played the game in the past, I mean I don't think I even beat the first boss. So,
Oh.
yeah.
So you barely played it, really?
Yeah.
Alright, well, what did you think then?
I actually found the same thing.
Oh,
It was a very readable game. There were a couple of instances of I would sit there for maybe a minute, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, this makes sense, and then try something and it would work. So
I suppose, to piggyback off the back of that, I do kind of agree that it is just an extremely well-designed game. I think, like you said, Keenan, it's most time what you logically think should happen is what you need to do.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Kyle?
Nope.
Oh, all right then. All right, that's fine. Why don't we head over to Nico then?
Yeah, I had kind of a similar thing as Keenan, where I remember like ages ago playing it, and I was just like, I don't know. I remember getting stuck a lot of the time when I first played it, but like going back to it, it must just be that like typical. You play a game as a kid, you think it's way harder than it actually is. When you go back to it, and you're just like, oh, this is really not. I guess maybe straightforward's not the right word. I don't know. It's very readable. I think is a good. Like, yeah, you kind of just go into it and you're like, yeah, I can kind of get an idea. Because even the rooms I didn't remember, I was like, I pretty much found the solution pretty quick. Because, like, it's all there for you to get the solution.
I think intuitive is a good word for it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Well, why don't we head over to Keenan?
Yeah, so, as I said, I found it very similar when it came to, like, puzzle design and the rooms and stuff. I remember this game as a kid and not disliking it, but not finding enough draw from it to keep playing it. I found it to be quite a difficult game, quite confusing, and yeah, I found I remember specifically catching the ghosts I could never get the hang of it as a kid. Like, it never seemed like whatever I did would actually, like, make the numbers go. And then this time round, it just felt really intuitive. It was really, really easy to get along with. So I don't know what I was experiencing as a kid, but I had a really good time with it. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I feel like I'm just going to be echoing a lot of what has already been said, but yeah, basically the same. I remembered it getting confused and lost a lot when I was younger, but this time I played it, I just had a blast with the entire thing. It's one of the few games for this show where I've actually finished it before Sunday, like the day of recording, because I just wanted to play more. I just wanted to keep playing it. I mean, I played it across like 2 sessions, I think, like 3 and a bit hours one session, 3 and a bit hours the next session, and that was kind of it for me. It has a remarkable amount of charm as well as a game, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Like, it's such a charming game. You're just like, you can't help but find it fun to play through.
Yeah.
Walking around as Luigi, just like fucking having him just on Mario. It's great. I just went around hitting A and just having that happen.
Yeah, oh yeah, you got it.
And then occasionally you accidentally open a door that's not a door and you get splattered against the wall and you're like, fuck. Fine.
Yeah, that is a really good point to be made about this game, is that, like, you know, it's supposed to be, like, scary because it's, like, you're catching ghosts and whatnot. And it's not really scary at any point. Like, there's no point that actually makes you genuinely scared, really. But it still creates that, a very enjoyable atmosphere. You know, like, the kind of atmosphere I feel like you'd get in, like, a haunted house of some kind. It's like, it may not actually be scary, but it's still fun to, like, engage in it. And they do a lot of, like, good stuff to really put you in that headspace. Like, as Max said, there's a button dedicated to shouting out for Mario, because you're looking for Mario, which is just brilliant. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. Did you guys realize the scream that he does for Mario gets more intense as your health gets lower?
No, I didn't.
No.
Like, as if you're like on full health, he's just like taunting along like Mario, like normal. But then if you're like on lower health, he starts like screaming, like he's terrified.
Oh, Jesus.
I always thought it was random.
No.
Yeah, so did I.
Your health.
That's
Which is
interesting.
Really cool.
Mm.
And even just even little things like that, like Luigi humming to himself or whistling to the music of the game as he's trotting along. And just little things like, even, I don't know if anyone got a game over. I didn't, actually.
I did several times.
I did.
But just even something as little as, like, when you game over, rather than saying game over, it says good night. It's like that, even just that, I remember when I was younger, thinking, "Oh, that's I don't like that."
Weird, yeah.
Just little things that make it obviously not too scary for young kids to play it, but just enough to creep you out.
Yeah, I definitely remember finding it creepy when I was younger. And that got replaced with a kind of curious playfulness when I was playing it this time.
Yeah.
Finding all the different ghosts, in situ. The fat ghost eating at the table and things like that. Did anyone have any particular topic they wanted to start us off on then?
Yes.
Okay, Cal, go.
I'm talking about the controls.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to talk about.
All right, go for it.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, Luigi's Mansion is a game where you run around a mansion with a vacuum cleaner and you suck up ghosts. You got to aim it around. It's a 3D game, but you're always from the same side-on perspective, almost like you're looking into a dollhouse, and you got to aim yourself around to catch the ghosts, kind of like Ghostbusters. Now, there was this problem I was having with it, so you actually have two components to it. You have a flashlight and the vacuum. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use the flashlight to stun the ghost, and then when the ghost is stunned, you can suck it in with a vacuum. Mm-hmm. Now, when I first started playing the game, I was inherently turning the flashlight off before I went to catch ghosts, because the flashlight is on by default, and you hold the B button to turn it off, and release to turn it back on. And I was turning the flashlight off before I went up to ghosts, because in my head, I was like, well, there's got to be a reason to turn the flashlight off, because otherwise you could just run around with the flashlight on all the time and just stun all the ghosts. So I was turning it off initially. But then I found out very quickly, actually, no, you can stun the ghosts without turning the flashlight off. So then I stopped doing that, because, okay, that's pointless. I don't know why that's a thing. Cut to later in the game, I'm having issues where I'm running around and just catching ghosts on the very end of the beam of my flashlight, and they get stunned for a fraction of a second, and then immediately disappear.
Yeah.
And it's not enough time to get them with the vacuum. I thought at first I was maybe I'm not reacting quick enough, but then started testing that and doing the vacuum immediately, and it's still not working. And I'm like, okay, it's not that. And then I thought maybe I'm overshooting it. Maybe the flashlight's going past them, and that's enough for them to escape. But then I found out that Luigi actually kind of auto-aims. I don't know if you guys realize that. If you leave Luigi completely still, and a ghost comes within a certain angle of you, he'll actually turn to auto-target on them.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of very subtle control assist.
Yeah, so it couldn't be that, but because the game was targeting it for me. So then I was like, okay, what is it? So I spent a while. This was near the end of the game as well. I wish I had figured this out earlier. I spent a while just trying to figure it out with the ghosts, and that's when I realized, and I think this is what it is. And anyone correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think it's a proximity thing. I think it's that if you catch a ghost, if the ghost gets caught at the very end of your the beam of your flashlight, then it gets stunned for a very little amount of time. But if it gets stunned closer to you, then it gets stunned for longer, and that allows you to vacuum it up.
It is a thing.
That was definitely my experience, because I found exactly the same thing because it took me ages to realize this, because I had the same problem of I have no time to be able to vacuum up because they're just disappearing instantly. But then, like you said, if you get really close to them and flash them right in the face, they're then stunned for 20 minutes or some shit.
That's when I realized that, firstly, there is a reason to turn the flashlight off. And then secondly, that the control scheme was kind of dumb. Because it wanted me to do exactly what I thought it wanted me to do in the first place, was you want to turn the flashlight off, let the ghost get close to you, then turn it on. But the thing is that when you're holding the B button to hold the flashlight off, you can't use the C stick, which is what you use to aim the flashlight. So it just made it really difficult to actually aim.
Wait, can you not use it?
Well, no, you can, but it's using the same thumb. You have to take your thumb off the C stick to press the B button.
That's
or
why
claw
you're
grip.
wrong.
Yeah.
I had to. That's stupid.
I claw gripped it a lot.
Yep, same.
I actually didn't have that problem with proximity because I'd not played the game before, or not played it very much. I paid a lot of attention to the tutorial, and it actually says in the tutorial that you want to get as close to the ghost as possible before shining light on it. So I was just doing that the entire time, just out of the assumption that that's what you had to do.
Yeah, that's fine, right? Like, I accept that I probably missed that. I obviously missed that part of the tutorial, and that's fine. It's the problem with it specifically is that the relation between having to, like, the fact that you can't aim the flashlight and turn the flashlight off with, at the same time without doing a fucking claw grip makes it difficult to maneuver.
At the very beginning of the game, I was having that exact problem, and it was really, really frustrating me. And so, this doesn't work for any official release of the game, but I went into my emulator settings and I put the B button on the shoulder button, on the right shoulder, and it made the game so much more playable.
I should have done that.
Yeah. That is a fault of the game. Like,
Yes,
that is not...
it is.
I'm not giving the game an excuse. I'm just... that it made it a lot more fun.
I did that for another thing. For some reason, the C stick is pilot controls, where if you press it up, it goes down, it goes down, it goes up. So I switched that around.
So did I.
That's also stupid. I don't know why I did that.
See-
Yeah, I should have done the same thing that you did, Keenan.
Yeah.
I'm used to playing Dark Souls with claw grip basically permanently, so I'm used to like sitting, holding a controller in claw grip.
So, I am also curious, what control scheme did you guys use?
Standard.
Standard. Sidestep was stupid.
I did standard as well.
Sidestep is useful when you are sucking,
Hey.
my lady. But yeah, normally I wouldn't want to use sidestep.
So it looked like Sidestep, when I was testing it out, Sidestep is exactly the same when you're in the vacuum mode, and then it's only when you're not using the vacuum you continue to sidestep in sidestep mode.
Yeah.
Which I think overall would probably be better if you got used to it, but it's so unintuitive to use that I just ended up sticking with standard. Yeah.
Also, the aim assist reminded me, actually, just quick, of a couple issues I had with it. I don't know if you guys found this, but I found the aim assist like to prioritize the elemental ghosts. Like, because I had a couple moments where I was like trying to suck a ghost. It might have been a boo or a ghost, and it was just like, just gonna aim my fucking vacuum up here. I'm like, no, fuck off, get the ghost. I'm gonna fucking die if you don't get it.
I don't think I actually had that problem.
I had a couple aim assists. I can't remember which specific bits, but I remember just thinking, like, God, I wish I could turn this off sometimes.
I do remember having one aim assist problem where it was focusing on some of the bats and the rats and stuff.
That might have been, that might have been part of it as well.
Yeah. Instead of, like, the thing that was throwing a bomb at me. Like,
the thing is, I definitely appreciate it, because, and we'll probably get to this later, but the boos specifically, the aim assist just made it so much easier and better.
The booze would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to finish that last point I was making about the flashlight using the B button and the C stick at the same time, I feel like, I'd have to test this out somehow, but like, I feel like the whole thing would be so much better with a very simple fix of just making the flashlight a toggle. And then you don't have to hold the B button down to keep it off.
I think even just reversing what it currently is would make it more user-friendly.
I think that would also make it better. Here's another thing I'd like to posit to you guys. I feel like there was a lot of situations where I was vacuuming something high up, that's like on a wall or something, right, to try and find hidden stuff. And then, like, a ghost appears. I'm like, oh shit, gotta go vacuum the ghost. But then my vacuum is still pointed directly up. So I gotta, like, and then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta bring that back down, and then press the C stick and slowly bring it back down to the ground. And, like, I feel like there's so few situations where you need the vacuum pointed up, that it should just be pointed horizontally by default.
Yeah,
that way
that would have actually made it way better. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, there's a lot of things like that, and the flashlight thing I mentioned before. But like, it's as you were saying before, Keenan, it's stuff that it doesn't necessarily ruin the flow of the game. It's unintuitive at first, but you can like get used to it and work around it. You shouldn't have to, but you can still enjoy the game once you get used to those things. In a way, it's very similar to like Mario 64 controls, where it's like, you know, there's a lot of things that from a modern perspective, it's very obviously dated, but also this is kind of the first time they were doing this, so the fact that they even managed to get it as good as it is still quite commendable.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And again, like Mario 64, once you get used to those problems, you can play around them and still figure out how to use the controls well, even if it's not intuitive, and you can still enjoy the game. But yeah, that's my main... That whole thing is basically my main problem with this game. Other than that, fantastic game.
Sort of on the point of controls, you know the like cyan-coloured ghosts that would show up sometimes, the really fast ones?
Oh, yeah. No, I was gonna
Like
bring that up.
Sanic ghosts.
I caught like maybe 2 of those.
Yeah.
Those were ones that like constantly, like, I would flash them and then they'd immediately disappear. And those ghosts...
Oh, yeah.
Because those ghosts, again, for everyone who doesn't know, those are ghosts that if you manage to catch them, they give you a shit ton of money, which increases your score at the end. But if you only get one chance to catch them and they're gone forever.
Yep.
Sucked, especially when you're having that issue of the proximity thing, which I didn't realize until the end of the game. So
Yeah.
I missed a ton of those.
See, I think my biggest issue with those was that it was the only time in the game where it felt like I couldn't turn fast enough, and there was no way to fix that. So you sort of just had to try and corner it, I guess. I don't know, it felt very hit or miss, that part.
And this is more of a personal point. I don't think this is an issue with the game. But Carl mentioned already the perspective of the game, like you're looking into a doll's house type thing. I really struggled to play a game from that perspective.
Yeah, I struggled as well, actually.
Like, I don't know what it is. Something about my brain I just can't fucking process, like, a game from that angle. It hurts my head. And as a result, I'm just really bad at it.
I will say, it definitely... I feel like this isn't just me. I feel like there are a lot of points in the Luigi's Mansion where the like, depth perception or, like, the perspective is a little fucky. Like, you looks like you're aiming at something, but then it turns out you were actually aiming somewhere completely different.
You just reminded me of the room where you have to shoot the moon.
Oh, fuck that one.
Oh my god.
That's the worst point of, like, that's the worst offender of the perspective problem in that game.
Oh my god, it's horrendous.
I don't even think that's a matter of perspective, really. I just think that's just, like, shit.
Yeah,
It's perspective and distance, just kind of both fucking you.
You have to aim way more to the left than you think you have to.
Yeah, you really do.
Do people remember how long it took them? Like, how many tries it took?
I think this time it took like 3 tries, but I remember having spent a lot longer on it in the past.
It took 3 or 4 for me.
A good 5 minutes of trying.
5 minutes? Jesus.
Yeah, I sucked at that.
But the
It
thing
took
is,
me
it's like...
about, like, 5 or 6 tries, I want to say. So probably not too much longer than yours.
But the thing is, it's like, oh, just aim more to the left. Like, you aim more to the left and you think... I kept overshooting it to the left because I thought, like, oh, it's just going to keep... It's so annoying.
See, for me, I did it so many times that I started getting into a thing of, like, oh, it's like a pattern. And so... so, like, every time I grabbed the thing that was falling down, the ghost that was falling down, and then I'd shoot it, and it would be slightly to the right of the moon. And so I was like, okay, so every time I grab it, it automatically places Luigi facing this direction. So I'll just move slightly to the left, and then it will shoot at the moon. And then I do that, and it shoots at the exact same point again. I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand. And so I kept doing it and doing it and doing it and not understanding. And then it got to the point where I decided, right, I'm just going to grab the ghost and shoot it without turning and see if it's consistent. And it wasn't at all. And I was like, oh, I've been wasting all my time. I eventually got it after that.
Looking for patterns where there are none. Yeah, I feel like the game could have really benefited from just having a little like a little beam to show you, like, here's where you're going to hit if you shoot
Yes.
right now. That.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
See, there were times, so like, the things that are floating do cast shadows, but the game's in darkness half the time, which
Well-
makes shadows not that useful.
They also do have like a little like a coloured light that shows up below them,
Yeah.
which I think is more useful for that sort of thing. But then you don't know which direction you're facing, so you can
Yeah.
think you're facing towards the dot, but
Mhm.
you're not.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a symptom of the perspective of the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily anything executed poorly.
I remember that just with the section where you got to use the mirror to... It was the mirror bit, and there was also a bit of a projector where you have to use that to kind of see where the ghosts
Oh,
are.
yeah.
It's like, I knew where they were, but it's the same thing of like, I don't know where I'm looking. It's like, I want to look there, but I don't know if I am. So,
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you guys know that at one point they were developing the GameCube to be a 3D console?
Yeah.
So, like,
I feel like I vaguely remember that.
and Luigi's Mansion was going to be like the first big like 3D game, but then they scrapped that. I was going to say, I wonder if that is partially why the perspective is so fucked up. If that has
It
something
could
to-
well
the
be.
way-
Yeah.
But then if Max said he had the same problem with Luigi's Mansion 3, then maybe not.
I was going to say it could also just be old
It could,
game
yeah.
syndrome,
It could.
because I've played a bunch of old platformers where I've like the perspective is just fucked.
See, this is
No.
partially why I was really hoping that someone would have come along and played the 3DS version, because that's literally
Yeah.
fixes that issue.
Maybe someone needs
True.
to dig out the 3DS now.
Well, I don't even own the game on 3DS.
Buy it then.
Just buy it.
Just buy it, forehead.
Just
Just use your money that you
Yeah.
definitely have.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree with the perspective thing.
Did you guys ever figure out, you know, the map
Mhm.
and all the rooms are color coded?
I have no idea what the colour
I
code means.
figured
Yeah.
that out right at the end, because I was sat there like, is this to do with like booze and treasure and all that? And then I realised as I was looking through, I was like, oh, that... Yeah, you might as well say it, if you know.
I was looking through it throughout the entire game, looking at these colors and thinking, I wonder what these mean. And trying to find patterns in them and not seeing anything. And in the end, I just looked it up. And from what I could find, it seems like the colors literally just correspond to the section of the game that you're playing. Like, because the game's split up into like
Yeah,
4
it
missions.
is.
And so yeah, each color is just one of the 4 missions, which is really stupid. Because
Yeah, that's so dumb.
yeah,
Because I would have thought, initially, when I was wondering what the colours were, I thought it was to do with, like, you got everything in here, like booze
Exactly.
and ghosts
that'd be
and stuff.
so helpful.
So the elemental ghosts. I think the idea of having to find the ghosts around the mansion is a cool idea, but it just became kind of irritating.
Especially with that door on the ground floor. The key is seemingly fucking nowhere in the game. I actually looked up where it was, but
Oh, I don't even remember which one that was. I actually got it randomly through the game. I was like, oh, that door. Can't remember.
So, but what I was thinking would have made more sense is if you still had to go and find those ghosts in order to get the ability in that, but then just have it on the D-pad so that you can switch between the elements and you just have different ammo for them.
yeah.
Like, because the amount of times that, well, I say the amount of times, I think there was 1 or 2 times where I needed a specific element, but I had just got the wrong one in a room nearby, and then I had to backtrack super far back to try and find the correct element and try not to get the other element that was closer by.
I wish for that, as well as I wish when you found an element, so when you knew what it was, it would put it on the map. Because specifically the ice one, which you get a bunch of later in the game, but there was a specific point that I needed it. I only knew one location for it, and so I had to go all the way up to, I think it was like the 2nd floor or something.
Yeah.
Go all the way around to go there, get that ice, and then go all the way back. It just became really annoying. I wish they'd just like, once you found it, it's like, here's an icon on the map for it.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
By the way, we should address that door. So,
What was it? I'm curious what key that was.
as you're going through this mansion, you're progressively working your way further and further into it, and there's a point where you go all the way around like the first floor of the mansion, and then once you get to the end, that leads you to the staircase that goes up to the second floor. And there's actually a door early on in the first floor that leads you straight to that staircase, but it's locked. And without that key, you have to go all the way through the first floor, out to the back garden, around, and then come back in. And there's a shit ton of ghosts out in the back garden that you have to run past. And it's really annoying having to do that trek every time you want to go upstairs.
You can kill all the ghosts outside, though.
Yeah,
Or
there is a
capture
way
them.
to clear that.
Oh,
Yeah.
is there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought I'd cleared...
it takes a
killed
while.
the
It
ghosts.
takes a while, but there is a way to clear that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay. Well, anyway, it's still a long trek.
Yes, it is a long trek.
And there is a key for that door, but it's not part of the main progression. Almost every key in the game that unlocks a door is part of the progression that you need in order to get to the end. But that one is not. So you can go the whole game never opening that door, and it's ridiculous.
I think what makes it worse is because almost every other key is part of the main progression. In fact, I think every other key is part of the main progression. I just naturally assumed, like, I didn't go looking for it, because I just naturally assumed it would give it to me later.
Yeah, like, you assume it would be like a Dark Souls style shortcut. You reach a certain point in the game, and then it's like, okay, now you can just easily go between these areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Because-
That's what I kept expecting to happen.
And then it just doesn't.
Nope.
What was that key, by the way? Because I remember having two keys at once, and one of them was that door. I was like,
So
what?
just in front of that door, in front of the staircase that goes up to the second floor, there's the gym. On the left side of the gym, there's the treadmill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
for reference, again, anyone who doesn't know, there's a bunch of objects all over this house that you can use the vacuum on them to like shake them about, and sometimes they'll like have money in them or there'll be ghosts in them, so you can interact with them in these ways. That's usually the extent of the interaction you can have with these objects. But then there's this there's like a couple exceptions maybe, and one of them is this treadmill, which if you get on the treadmill and it will turn on and you can run on it for a while, and if you run on it for like 10 or 15 seconds, a fucking key pops out for no reason, and that's the key that unlocks the stairwell.
I actually found that by complete accident because I thought I knew the boss was you had to hit the sandbag. I completely forgot that it was you had to press A on it, which seems really fucking obvious, but I just forgot because I thought you had to like vacuum it and have it go
That
back
would make
and
more
forth.
sense.
But then I realised you had to press A on it, so I was kind of just fucking around this room. And then I got on the treadmill, I was like, oh, you can run on it. And then the key popped out, I was like, oh.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only found it because I looked it up near the end, because like, this is ridiculous, there has to be a key for this somewhere.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never found that key either.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
I probably missed this too. Does the game actually tell you that you can teleport with the mirrors?
No.
Don't believe so.
Don't know.
Pretty sure it
just-
doesn't anyway.
You just have to find that out for yourself.
Yeah.
There's one room where you have to.
Yeah, that's
use
what I was
the
going to
mirror.
say. Like, I was fine with that. I was fine with that until there was that one room that you have to go through, and the only way to get out of it is through teleporting with the mirror. I think. I
Is
couldn't
that-
find enough.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a room you have to be in. I think it's one of
No.
the secret rooms.
Honestly, I do not remember that room.
Do you not have to go in
Yeah,
that room?
I think it was a treasure room. You don't have to.
Oh.
Because there's,
Maybe.
on one side of the roof, there's the key, and then the other side is where the secret
Oh,
room is.
yes, the other
You
side
don't
is
have
the
to.
key. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no. Okay, but even still, you don't have to go in that room, but if you do go in that room, then the only way to get out is through the mirror, but
Yeah.
if you didn't know that, you might get stuck in that room for quite a while.
Yeah,
Which seems a bit odd.
it
yeah,
does.
I see what you mean.
But there are a couple of things that you can only see with the Game Boy Horror, which leads me on to the second secret room.
Fuck this room.
So I had, near the end of the game, I had 49 out of 50 booze, and I had not explored one room, and I was like, what the hell do I do? And so I ended up going back to the butler room, and just as I stood there trying to think, how do I get into this room? Interestingly, I had a flashback to playing this as a kid, and not knowing what the hell I was doing, but finding this mouse hole and taking a picture of it with the Game Boy Horror, and then finding out you can go in it, and then just not knowing what to do with these ghosts because they wouldn't die. I'd completely forgotten about this, and like completely forgotten. Had that flashback, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so dumb."
Right. Fuck that room for 2 reasons, right? So initially I was like, I know you have to go through that room through a secret passageway, because otherwise why would it be on the map? And so I kind of just by chance got out the fucking Game Boy Horror, and I was like, oh, there's a mouse hole. What the hell? And then I remembered back to the where you suck up the dog, and then you got the doghouse that you take a picture of, and you go through that. So I remembered, oh, it must be this. Then you go in, you have to have the fire element for the ghosts. The problem is, there's no fire element in that room, and the only way to get out of that room is through that fucking mouse hole.
Yep.
I almost died. I had 10 health, because I was like trying to take a picture while these ghosts trying to punch me.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I fucking hated that room.
Yeah, no, that was the dumbest decision, that they didn't make the like... It should have kept the thing that lets you go back out active, rather than having to take another picture of it.
I wish that, but as well, like, I wish it wasn't a room to get all the booze in, which I guess isn't a major thing, because at the end of the day, getting all the booze just gets you more money.
Yeah, but I do agree.
But it's one of those things where it's like, you just... I don't know.
It was at the point where it was like, you could see that there was no door attached to it, so it was like, is the final boo in this room, or does King Boo count as the final boo? Like, I almost didn't go to...
Oh, I looked that up, because I was like, I just double-checked, like, is the King Boo the last? And apparently it was like a popular search of like, no, King Boo isn't. There is actually 50. And that's when I knew that room had to have a boo in.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, fuck that room.
Like, speaking of booze, how about we'll talk about booze for a bit. Who wants to take the lead on that?
So who didn't get all 50?
I.
Kyle?
I got them all.
Of course, these two got them all. Now I got close.
How many did you get? Out of curiosity.
I got 47.
Ooh,
oh wow,
not bad.
So I got most of them.
And for reference, again, for people watching, I'm pretty sure you need a certain amount of booze in order to get to the end.
I'm pretty sure it's a key, right?
Well, you need the key as well. But I'm also...
Do you want to know something that's weird? I don't know what number it is. But even if you go down there with 40 plus, because I had 40, and the first time I went down that corridor, I got the whole cutscene where you get blown back down by King Boo, and then I got the key. Collected I think I was on like 42 when I went down that corridor the first time, and got blown back down. It got the key, went down it with 47, and got let through fine. So I'm not sure whether the first time you see that happens anyway.
That's odd. Yeah. So they didn't account for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. So like the first time, just blown away anyway. It'll be fine.
I wasn't listening to that because I was looking it up. But apparently it's 40 you need. Although apparently in the PAL version it's 45.
Oh wow.
Fucking PAL version. Why is the PAL version
you were playing the PAL version.
I was playing the PAL version.
There you go.
So that would explain why. Okay, that makes sense.
Is this really the one game where PAL is actually harder than the other versions? Like, the A rank is harder to get, the Mystery Mansion is harder, and apparently need more booze. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that was interesting about the booze for me, so the memories I have related to the Luigi's Mansion are playing the very beginning of the game and not getting very far. And I also remember going over a friend's house and they were stuck and they wanted me to help. And I was seeing all this stuff that I'd never seen before and just not knowing what the hell was going on. And so getting to the end of that, I had like very specific memories of like the room with all the dust piles and how irritating it was.
Yeah. I remember that room.
Yeah. And coming back to it, I was like, oh my god, it's this game. Oh no, it's this room. It was so interesting. But the thing that annoyed me the most with that room wasn't just the dust. It was the fact that the boo next to it would constantly go into that room, so you'd have to go through the dust, hoover it, and then go back out the room and hoover it again. Ugh.
Yep, that actually is a point I want to make. So, with all the other ghosts in the game, the normal ghosts, how it works is once you start vacuuming them, you basically become tethered to them as they like drag you around the room because they're trying to escape from the vacuum, and you've got to pull in the other direction to like suck their health off, and then when they hit 0, they go into the vacuum. So, you're literally tethered to this ghost for a while, and it is possible for the link to break if you stop vacuuming, or I think there's a few other things that can break it that I'm not quite sure on. So it can take multiple attempts to vacuum up a ghost. But with boos are different. You don't tether to them. You actually just have to aim on them, and there is some amount of aim assist.
Thank God.
But you don't tether to them in the same way, so they can run away from you a lot more easily. And the other thing about boos that's different to ghosts is that they can travel through the walls into other rooms, which, firstly, I just want to say that in itself is a really cool mechanic. Having to chase the boos like through the mansion, I think is really cool, because it makes it a lot more, dynamic. Whereas all the normal ghosts are like kind of like set combat scenarios, of like this is how it plays out. The boos are a lot more. It has a much more dynamic feel of like this is how your version of it's playing out, because the boo is like dynamically choosing where to go to try and get away from you, which is really cool. However, there was one thing about it that's quite annoying, which is that boos can get away from you and go into other rooms without you taking any health off of them at all. So if they're flying between rooms that require you to go through multiple doors in order to catch up with them, it can get quite tedious having to chase them.
Yeah.
Especially, as Keenan mentioned, in the basement, in that room with the dust, because you have to go through like 3 different doors in order to find that boo again. One of which is the dust room, where you have to suck up all the dust on the floor in order to get through it. So if the boo keeps flying back and forth between those rooms, it takes forever. And that boo is one of the later boos, so it has a shit ton of health as well.
Yeah. There's actually, I think there's 2 boos down there, and one of them almost went into the dust room, but thankfully I got like 200 health off it in one go. So it didn't make it.
Interesting point that I found, and maybe this is just me. With some boos, there's an optimal range where if you stand at this range and don't move and just hold suck, they'll like try and get away and then get pulled back, and then try and get away and then get pulled back again. And I captured several boos stood completely still, just holding suck.
Oh, I didn't realize what range.
I did find that with a couple.
I found the same thing, but I thought it was like specifically movement that was doing it. Like I was wiggling back and forth in order to do that. I didn't realize you could just stand still.
Yeah, several boos. I just stood completely still and was like, "Well, this is easy."
I wonder what exactly.
One of the 300 health boos I got in one go with that.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
Damn.
Like, it just didn't go anywhere.
So it's got to be. So I guess that must be a proximity thing. Like there's just like a sweet spot where they just can't escape.
Yeah, it seemed to be close to the maximum range, but not quite the maximum range.
I wonder if the angle at which you're doing it has anything to do with it as well.
Maybe. That's possible.
That's really interesting. I want to look into that.
Did people struggle when boos got into like, I don't know what you'd call it, I guess the hallways? Where you have like multiple doors? Because I found whenever they went into the hallway, it would only chip away like 1-2 health.
Yes.
And then they would just go back in the room.
I found
be
whenever
able to
that
do it
happened,
normal.
yeah, I would just wait for them to go back. I wouldn't even bother trying.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm just going to wait for you to go back.
I mean,
in the
obviously
room.
I would try because it's like, I don't know.
I did have that
2
happen
health
a
is
couple
better than
times. I didn't know what was causing it. I don't know if it was specifically hallways.
I only had it in hallways. So
It was only in hallways. I don't know what caused it, but yeah.
I'm guessing it's just that they don't want you fighting it in a hallway. So they want you to be in one of the cool rooms.
No, thank God they didn't allow boos to go through floors or ceilings.
Oh my
Could you
God.
imagine?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
But I think overall, it's a really fun mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for that one room, but we don't talk about that one room.
Yeah. Although in that room is one of the least utilized mechanics in the game of going on the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that is a point I actually want to bring up. I was going to say, yeah, it does feel odd that they introduced this whole ceiling flipping thing, like gravity flipping. And it's used in, like, 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And that seems to be it. When it's really cool. And yeah, it's used in, like, those 2 rooms, and that's about it.
It's so strange.
Because it's really fun, and I could see them doing a lot of interesting things with it.
And then the one time that I thought they were going to use it in a puzzle, you didn't have to use it. You just had to exit the room and it flips around on its own.
Yep, that room. I was just about to mention. Like, I thought that was... Because I was looking everywhere for one of those flip... I guess button switches, whatever you want to call it. And it just wasn't there. And I thought, fuck this, I'll just exit the room. And then, of course, you hear the sounds or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
That was weird. You know what? That just reminded me of something. There's a point where when the electricity goes out, so all the lights are off and there's ghosts everywhere. And you have to find a specific ghost, and the clue that EGAD gives you...
Oh, don't. I know where you're going with this.
is
I know where you're going.
Is that he likes rooms with mirrors. Which...
And you mean the room with the big fucking mirror?
Yeah, firstly, it's like, there's a ton of rooms in this mansion with mirrors. That's not very specific. But then I thought, oh, okay, I just remembered. There's a mirror room right next to Madame Clairvoyant. I'll go there. It's gotta be there. There's this one room that's literally called the mirror room, and there's a massive mirror going along the span of the whole wall.
Oh, God, I feel pain.
I was like, okay, I'll go there. And I went there and searched all over it, and there was nothing. There was some ghosts in there, and I zacked them up, and then nothing happened. And I was like, what is this? And then I looked it up, and it's just a random room with a mirror. It's not even like a room. He's not even in a room that has like multiple mirrors in it. It's just an arbitrary room that happens to have a mirror. He's in there. Like it literally would have been better off if EGAD just said, go back to all the rooms you've been in, you'll find him eventually. Like, it was such a weird clue to give when it seemed pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked that exact same room and then realised it wasn't there and just wandered about the mansion for a little bit until I found him.
Yeah, I definitely randomly just went through rooms.
That was like the one thing that I actually looked up.
Yes, I had to look that up too, because I did exactly what you did, Carl. I was like, oh, the room, he likes mirrors. Okay, so you mean the room with the big fuck-off mirror in it. Alright, that sounds like a good place to start. That makes sense, let's go there.
Is that ghost required for progression?
Yes,
yeah, because
key to the breaker room.
Yeah, because you can't go in the breaker room until...
Yeah, because it for some reason it's locked, even though it wasn't earlier in the
yes.
game.
Yeah.
Because I initially thought it was an optional ghost, because it was like... Because he mentioned specifically, make sure to get this ghost before you turn on the power.
Yeah, like
so I thought it was
a good time to do that.
So I thought it was one of those, like, optional ghosts where it's like, well, if you don't do this, then you can never do it, kind of thing. Yeah. But then I realised, oh wait, the room's locked anyway. Why would he mention that specifically in that way?
Yeah. So we're on the power cut bit. I really wish for that specific sequence they would have disabled the whole Luigi jumping when a ghost appears. Because I'm not gonna lie, like normally it's kind of cool. I quite like it. In that one specific section, because of how many ghosts there are, it's so fucking annoying.
And to clarify as well, when a ghost appears and Luigi jumps, he completely stops moving for like a good second.
And bear in mind, like you'll be walking across the room in this power cut, and like 5 ghosts will appear. I think that's the most I had in one room at one point.
And you're still vulnerable while he does the jumping. So if they're going for a punch, you will get punched.
I luckily I didn't get hit, luckily, but it was close a few times. And it's just I just wish I disabled it for that part.
Yeah, what I was doing in that, what I found worked in that situation was each time Luigi jumped and got scared, immediately spin around, stun them with the flashlight, like 360 all the way back, and then just keep running in the direction you were going.
Yeah.
Don't even try to fight them. Just like stun.
I did something similar.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Quick point. You know what's really fun? when like
That really
a
grinds
heart,
my gears.
when a heart or like a pearl or something drops behind collision that makes it impossible to get, even with the vacuum.
Yeah.
Super fun.
I had that with
Yeah.
notes a couple of times. The fucking poison mushroom. I had a couple annoying moments with it where it's like when like it breaks the chain, I guess you'd call it, where you're not tethered to it, so he does the kind of rolls back. I had that where he'd like roll back, go on his feet, and the fucking poison mushroom, I just see it bouncing towards me, I'm like, don't fucking do it, don't fucking do it, and then it does something.
That's so good.
And then of course you can't use the vacuum, so you just sat there running about,
Yeah.
doing nothing.
I had a weird relationship with the poison mushroom because at the very beginning of the game, I absolutely hated the idea of it, and I didn't understand why it was in the game. And by the end of it, I was like, "This is a fun little thing. I like that they added this." It's weird, but it sort of like breaks up the gameplay in a fun way.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
First time I saw it, I tried to pick it up.
Yeah, same.
I tended to like, oh, a mushroom. These make me big. Okay, cool. Let's go pick that one up.
Thankfully, I already knew.
Yeah, no, I did that exact same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it plays on your emotions. Like because it gives you the exact same sound as like what a mushroom makes in a normal Mario game when it comes out of a block, and to make it instinctively makes you like, ooh, cool thing, gonna get it. Nope.
It looks a little bit weird though.
Yeah.
Do you know what's annoying about the context of that mushroom? I'm pretty sure the only time there's been a poison mushroom before that was Super Mario Bros. 2, the Japanese version. So you don't even know the context of the poison mushroom. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh. Question. Did anyone get hit by a fake door?
Yes.
Oh, many times.
Several times.
I don't think I did.
This is a danger that happens if you run around screaming Mario.
I didn't get hit by a single one.
It took me far too long to realise that there were many different ways to tell that it was a fake door.
Yeah.
It took me till like halfway through the game.
I remembered it from when I played it previously that you could look at doormats.
Oh, I didn't even know you could look at
Oh,
doormats.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about door. I just knew about the map.
I knew that there was
used.
the map you can use, and also if you use the vacuum on them, real doors
Yes.
shake and fake doors don't.
Yeah, no. If you look at the doormats, there are a few areas where that doesn't happen. I think the floor below the roof and the basement floor, this doesn't apply. But in the ground, first and second floor, any door that doesn't have a doormat in front of it is a fake door.
Oh.
So, curiosity. What rank did everyone get?
I got a B.
Pretty good. That's a pass.
I feel like I didn't. So, as I said earlier, I missed almost all of those blue ghosts that give you money. And then also, I didn't do the plant in the garden, which gives you a ton of money because I didn't know about it till the end.
Oh, I did do the plant.
I feel
I
like
did as
I
well.
feel like those two things were the difference between B and A, which annoys me. But yeah.
Did you get many of the gold rats as well?
Oh, the gold rats. I'm not sure if I did.
I only got 2 of those. Because they,
Yeah, I
they
only got a
don't
couple.
despawn like the blue ghosts do.
What about you, Keenan?
I got rank B.
Hey, B bros.
Nico.
I got a B grade as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, now we've covered all our ranks. Why don't we move on to
You're not getting away with that either.
fuck? I got an E rank.
Which,
got a
to
nice
be
little-
fair,
A nice little house at the end. Like I think Nick is about to say this, but yeah, to be fair, E rank is kind of in the middle. I know I've mentioned it before a few times on the show, but like, I will play exactly as much of a game as I want to play. I'm the opposite of a completionist generally.
Keenan,
Yeah.
may I make a request? Could you put up a picture of you, me, and Nico's lovely bee house up on the screen right now, and then put Max's E house next to it?
Sure. Yeah. I could do that.
Just a sad image of me in a window. I can take a picture of myself.
but to be fair, E,
Ha,
yeah,
B,
it isn't that bad because I did end up looking at it. Because I initially was like, how the fuck do you get an E grade? Like, just type it. I'm like, what the fuck did that? And then I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that's not that bad because it goes to fucking H, which is just a tent. And it's literally like I can't remember. It was something like 50,000 or less to get H, and I was like,
Wow.
if anyone got H, I have some questions because that is literally like on purpose. You didn't get any money. I was gonna say the ranks are separated by quite a lot.
Yeah.
Alright. Should we talk about the bosses?
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose I can do that.
Go in order. Might well.
With the baby.
First boss, the baby boss. That was kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie. That was like the one...
It was fine.
To me, that was the one part of the game where I was genuinely like, I'm a bit bored.
That was classic. I remember this being way harder when I was a kid. Like, and then I went back to it, I was like, oh, it's really
Because
easy.
most of the fight is just,
Dodge
you watch him do a very obviously telegraphed attack, and then you move slightly to the side to avoid it. And then that's like the whole fight.
Yeah, no, pretty much.
Yeah, nothing much on that, really.
Yeah, kind of the same. Like, I thought it was a nice, simple introduction to it.
Sure.
I can't say too
yeah,
much because it's like it's a beginning boss.
Yeah. Second boss, the gooey guy.
That one. Yeah.
The one in the graveyard.
He was fine. That fight did also kind of suffer from the thing we were talking about before of like the perspective being weird, 'cause you have to shoot,
I did not.
You have to shoot balls of goo at him. So that was a bit...
Literally, I always just position my guy so he's facing forward, aiming up, just so I can get like a perfect, guaranteed hit.
Now let's talk about the third boss. Oh my god. Fuck it.
What was the third boss?
Bulossus. The big boo. That turns into many boos.
Oh, no!
Oh, okay. So this one, the first 99% of this boss is fine. It's fun and it's like clever what you got to do. And then I'd forgotten about this. It was only when I was in the process of doing it that I suddenly had flashbacks of having tried to do this in the past. The fucking last boo is horrendous. So, for context, it's this massive boo that you've got to attack it in order to split it up into many little boos. And then once it's many little boos flying around, you've got to hit it, spray it with ice in order to freeze them, and then you can suck them up. And when there's many boos flying around, you can just spray ice everywhere and suck up boos left and right, and it's great. But then, once you get to the point where there's only one boo left, it's so fucking hard to catch him. I don't know why they didn't just change the AI to be a little easier once it gets to the point where there's only a few of them.
Yeah, I think that boss also suffered from perspective as well.
Yes,
like the amount of times I thought I was getting the boo, and then I realised, oh wait, he's in literally the opposite direction to what I thought he was.
Not even that. It's like they would be right next to me, in front of me, like just right in front. I'd spray with the ice. I was like, "Got you, fucker!" And then it just went away. I was like, "What?" I was right next to you. I was right in front.
Yeah,
that to me was the single most frustrating thing in the game. Was that last bit.
Definitely, 100%. It really sucks the fun out of that boss.
Yeah, it sucks all the tension. That's exactly it. It sucks all of the tension out of that fight.
Oh, for sure. And that's the last boss other than the final one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just before we move on to that, I just want to say a quick thing. Like, all of the special ghosts, like the painting ghosts, were really cool. Like, they all had like really unique designs and interesting puzzles to catch them, I thought.
A lot of them were hits, but there were a couple misses of like, this is just either really easy or just really simple.
But I think... I do agree, but I think the ones that were misses tended to have a lot of charm anyway, so they sort of got away with it.
True, yeah, true. I guess it just goes into the atmosphere thing of, like, just generally, just the atmosphere of, like, even just the special enemies or bosses were very nice. Like, it just added to the whole experience. It was really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
Is it final boss time?
I think it is.
By the way, so for context, it's Bowser. I think as Max said earlier, this is the only part of the game where like the camera actually kind of turns a little bit around. Yeah. And he'll throw a bunch of attacks at you, and you've got to... There's one particular attack, as is always the case with Nintendo games, that you can throw back at him. And then when you do that, his head comes off and King Boo comes out, and then you got to suck him up like a regular Boo. But then also Bowser's head will also be flying around shooting stuff at you whilst you're trying to do that. And you just got to do that enough times until you take all of King Boo's health. And that's the boss.
I have opinions.
I'm interested. I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, because I didn't really struggle with this.
Okay, so I want to start off the bat by saying it's a good boss. I like it. I want to say 3 major gripes with it. So the first thing is a camera problem. In that there will be times when, depending on how the boss is positioned, when King Boo comes out, Bowser will be in between the camera and King Boo.
That sounds like a you problem.
I haven't had that, but
Probably
I can
is.
definitely see that potentially being a
Yeah,
problem.
that happened a
But
few
it's just
times with
one-
me. And then you can't really see, and King Boo just kind of like flies around behind Bowser, and you're like, well,
Yeah, I know what
Right
you're talking
then.
about. Yeah.
Actually,
I
I will say just on that point quick, of the Bowser being in between. I actually had the opposite problem. Bowser had King Boo was in between it, and it was great, because King Boo was taking all the ice hits. So I was just sucking up King Boo. I was like, cool, freebie.
oh, great.
So
I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't know it was
I didn't
possible. Again, I don't know if it was hitting King Boo or hitting a piece of geometry, but it was like right on the corner of the map, and
That's so
King
cool.
Boo was in the way, and apparently he was just taking all the ice hits. So I was just like, it was great.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So my second, and again, the thing is, all these things are me problems, right? But they can happen to other people too.
Okay.
So up until that point, there has been rarely any need to dodge anything while you're vacuuming.
With
You
the
can-
exception of some ghosts, because there could be times. I remember the Clockwork soldiers where you'd be vacuuming one, the others would still be
I mean,
trying to hit you.
Yeah,
There's
that's basically the only other time you have to do it.
there's definitely not a lot of agency to do that, because a lot of the time when you're sucking up ghosts that aren't boos, you're being dragged around by them, so you don't really have
Yeah.
a lot of control over your movement.
That's not... You do have a lot of control over your movement.
Or some control.
You have control, but you're
You-
getting dragged at the same time.
It's half control.
Yeah.
But I mean, what you can do is you can, like, move forward with them, which will move you forward, or you can pull back to try and stay where you are.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can move
You
side to side
would
too.
be right in
Yeah.
saying it's the only time you have shit flying at you when you're not being dragged around.
Well, I'm gonna say, and this is the part I was going to
Yeah.
get to, is that, yeah, it's the only, like, the rest of the game, you can kind of, for the most part, just hold vacuum and pull in the opposite direction and you're fine. I feel like this is one of the only parts where, I don't want to say it's impossible to do it without doing that, but it's going to be substantially more difficult because you're going to get frozen more, and every time you get frozen, you take damage, and then you lose time being able to drain health off King Boo. So, like, I wasn't doing that at first, and I found it very difficult. Like, I died 4 or 5 times to the boss, I think.
You know what I think
ouch.
this is an issue of?
What?
I think this is an issue of the fact that you found that, I don't know if it's an exploit or not, where you could just stand still and get the boos in the mansion.
Oh, definitely, probably.
Because,
yeah.
like, all throughout the game, when you're collecting boos, you have to move along with them and chase them around.
Yeah.
At least that's what I found.
Yeah, this is what I was
so
saying. It's
same.
probably
This final
definitely a
boss
me
was
issue.
like an extension of that.
Mm.
So, I totally see what you're saying. It's
Yeah. Well, yeah, having not had that experience of having to follow boos around, I found it really difficult because instinctively I would just stand still and then I'd get hit by ice.
yeah,
I felt like you had to get unreasonably close to the bombs to pick them up
you did, yeah.
with the
You
vacuum.
could-
I feel
that
like
Suck them in.
You
You had
basic-
to walk
yeah.
up to them.
I feel like
Oh.
a little bit of suck would have been good.
Yeah,
And you have to be facing a specific, like, direction to what. Like, if you're just slightly off, which I was a couple times, you'll just walk straight into it.
Yes, yeah, I found that too.
Just hit.
That
was
combined with the camera perspective and sometimes like Bowser partially obscuring the camera made the thing for me really tricky.
yeah. That third one was definitely a problem. That's not a you problem.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, and when you
general-
combine that problem with the me problems,
I don't remember
You're in for a
having
bad
that
time.
issue with the boss.
Really?
No, I found that whole boss pretty straightforward.
For
It was
the-
fun to do, but like I found it pretty straightforward as well.
For the second half, I got used to, but it was definitely like, and I think the reason was all the other balls that you suck in the game. So we will. Like, you can be slightly off, and it will just pick it up. Like, so I've gotten used to even just being slightly off, and it just picks it up. So to have, like, the one time where it doesn't work is just really... Yeah, you have to kind of readjust.
I know I asked this earlier, but I forgot. Who game overed? Max and Keenan did.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay.
I almost did on that secret room where you had to get out of through the mouse hole. I had 10 health. 1 hit, I would have been dead.
I game overed there, and I game overed a bunch in the final boss, but otherwise I didn't.
Alright, just wondering. For my own ego. Continue.
So my problem with the boss is, again, a me problem. When he shoots the spiked balls, I realised very quickly you could pick them up. And
Yeah.
I saw that he was doing like the suck attack thing to try and swallow you up. And so I was like, oh, this is a King Dodongo. I just need to shoot him when he's doing that move. And so I would be sitting there when he's doing the fire move, waiting with the explosive in the thing, and I was getting so frustrated because I was like, this is just an RNG battle. This is so dumb. Why am I having to wait so long for this to happen? And then when it did happen, I would either miss or I would get swallowed with it and it would do no damage. I didn't understand what was going on, and then I died 4 or 5 times trying to do just that, trying to get him to swallow it, because I needed to check if that was what you had to do before moving on. And because I couldn't successfully do it, I assumed that I hadn't tried it properly yet. And then eventually I gave up and I was like, you know what, screw you. And I just shot him in the face while he was using the fire move, and I was like, oh. This makes a lot more sense now.
See, I just had the thing of, like, I completely forgot that you had to do it while he had his head down. It was a couple of attempts of,
so
like,
his-
I just fired the mine.
So his attacks, again, do have some amount of like logic to them, with how the AI determines what to do, and that
I did notice that as well.
It's mainly the proximity, as you were saying, the suck attack, I believe he does when you get too close to him.
Yeah.
And then he'll do another attack where if you run really far away from him, he'll like jump into the air and then come back down on top of you.
Oh, I never saw that one.
That's if
I
you
saw him charge towards me.
That's if you get really far away. And then, if you get like somewhere in between, then he'll do the balls, the spiky balls, which he rolls at you, and then which is what you're supposed to suck up, and then immediately afterwards he will always charge you and then bend down and spray fire, and that's the point where you need to suck up the spiky ball and shoot it right at his head. And you have to do it specifically at that point because, and this is, I'm not sure how intuitive this is, if you hit him with the spiky balls just on his legs, like on his body, when he's not bending down, it does literally nothing. But if you do it at his head when he's bending down, then it knocks his head off, and that's when King Boo comes out.
They definitely should have had an animation when you shoot him in the legs of his head spinning around or something like that. Where it's like, it's not doing damage,
that
but...
would have,
Yeah.
just an indicator of it, yeah.
I was also going to say the issue of when you do get swallowed, he spits you out, but because you're in pretty close proximity, he immediately uses fire, so you always get hit twice, and that really upset me.
Ouch.
So, overall, I really enjoyed this boss, and it bothers me immensely how much better this final boss was than Sunshine's. It had a better Bowser battle than a mainline Mario game.
I was out of nowhere.
Just a lot of bosses. Like, that one was actually, like, really good compared to, like, a lot of the mainline bosses I've gotten used to.
Yeah, no, that was, as soon as I beat it, I was like, it was only a few months after Luigi's Mansion that Sunshine came out.
Yes.
And Bowser's fight in Sunshine was terrible.
2 great games, one after the other.
Oh, Max.
I feel like it did end exactly when it should have, personally.
Yes.
Like, even though it's not a long game, like, I feel like if it had more, yeah, it would have been overstayed its welcome, I think. I think you learn everything you need to learn and then execute it one after the other. I don't know. I think for a first title in the series, it's a very positive...
Maybe this is just because I blasted for it, because I apparently know the game really well. I personally could have gone one mission more.
Fair enough.
Like,
I mean, how long did it take you? Do you know?
I don't know
Okay.
how
It took
long
me-
it actually took me, but
I think the average that we've got listed is 7.5 hours.
that
I think
sounds-
it took
was
me
definitely-
6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds.
I would say
it's
probably
somewhere
6.
around
Yeah, 6 hours probably.
Yeah, I did it in one session, so
I did have the
it was
game
very
paused.
fast.
I did have the game paused a lot of times, so I can't really
No,
check.
okay. But yeah, no, I thought it was... I would have been happy to play more, but I don't think I would have enjoyed the rest of it as much, and I think my opinion of the game might have gone down a little bit.
It's almost
yeah.
like I want more of it, but I want more in a sequel or something.
Exactly,
I don't
yes.
want more
Yeah.
in that same game. I could definitely see myself it being the kind of game that I kind of replay every year or every now
yeah,
and then.
try and get like a higher rank or something.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely curious to go through the Mystery Mansion PAL version, because apparently, like, not only is the mansion flip, but they start bringing in, like, later enemies earlier on, and just shit like that, where it's like, it actually is, like, a proper hard mode, instead of just being like, oh, just do it again.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, any other points anyone wants to bring up?
No, I'm done.
Feels like we're coming to a conclusion here now.
One little thing that I found interesting was I really expected this game to be more of a Metroidvania, like considering the map layout and everything.
Yeah.
And it's very linear. Like there's very little to explore outside of what it wants you to explore. And like there's a lot to do in the rooms that you go to. There's a lot of like little secret things that you can do. But the rooms themselves, it's a very linear progression.
That is a point I actually meant to note down, but I didn't. But yeah, it is a. I did notice that too, like, because it, again, to fucking bring back Mario Sunshine. I made the point about when we did the Mario Sunshine episode, how the levels are really open in that game, but there's not much point to it being open, because whenever you go into a mission, there's only a specific thing you're allowed to do, as opposed to like other Mario games where, you know, you could choose which mission you want to do when you go into the area. So it was kind of pointless in that game. And I kind of noticed with Luigi's Mansion, it's like, yeah, the mansion is kind of open in little ways, and you can, but like, there's really only one way that you can go in order to progress. So it makes you
only
wonder, is
tend
there...
to get one key at a time, which means you've got one place to go.
Yeah.
Which
Which,
makes navigation a lot easier.
yes. That's
I think
true.
a good way of describing it is that it's linear in a forward direction, but if you want to backtrack, you can go wherever you want.
Yeah.
Because in Act 3, I got a ghost that was meant to be in Act 2. Because I went back to it.
Yeah, it's nice having all of that, all the previous acts or areas, whatever they are, all as one part of the game. Like, all as one central, like, overworld.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely benefits to the way they did it. But it definitely wasn't what I expected it to be, especially because last week I started and finished Super Metroid for the first time. So I was like on a Metroidvania kick, and I was like, this is going to be perfect.
Nope.
No, not at all. A lot of fun, though.
Nope, just Truck Death. Nice. Well, why don't we make the rounds one final time then? And get kind of closing thoughts on it, shall we?
Sure.
If I get Nico, go.
Well, I definitely recommend this game 100%. I think it is just, like, even though it's not a Metroidvania and it has its flaws here and there, but, like, overall, atmosphere's great, gameplay's great, doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not a long game either, so if you're the kind of busy person who doesn't have a lot of time, it's very easy to digest game, put it that way. But yeah, no. Other than that, yeah, just great game overall. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Nico.
Well, I definitely recommend saying 100%. I think it is just, like, it's not a Metroidvania and hands-forward, but like, overall, atmosphere's great, gameplay's great, doesn't welcome. It's not a long game either, so you feel kind of busy person using a lot of time. It's very easy to digest game, by the way. Yeah, no, other than that, yeah, just great game overall, really enjoyed it.
Again,
Me?
Sorry.
Well,
I had a complete mind fart there. Keenan.
Leave that in, please.
okay, sure.
literally just repeat my section. Just
Yep, do it.
copy-paste my section.
Right. No, Keenan.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Nico. Like, it's a brilliant game. If you do have any doubts about it in the early game, like I did as a kid, I would say get past the first boss and try and see if you enjoy it more after that, because I definitely did. Not to say the beginning's bad. I just think it gives you more to understand what the game is about, like when you unlock the booze, for example. Yeah, no, it's so good. I'd recommend it to anyone. I assume the 3DS version's good. It's Grezzo, so if you can get it on that, probably play on that, because I imagine they fixed a lot of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the perspective issues.
And that game does seem like the kind of game that'd be perfect for like a pick down, put up playstyle that suits those kind of handheld consoles so well.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, cool. Kyle.
That's my name. As I said at the beginning, I was really, for some reason, expecting this game to be more of that, like, old, esoteric Nintendo kind of game. But it really wasn't. It was, like, honestly a lot less dated than I was expecting it to be. And I think we definitely did gripe on it quite a bit with a lot of those things, but, like, there was a lot of negative points we were making during this, but I feel like all of those points were, while they all may have been fairly valid points, they were all fairly smaller moments in what was ultimately a much larger and really generally very fun experience. Like, surprisingly fun for how old this game was. And yes, there's still definitely a lot of those areas where that little bit of like old Nintendo game kind of shines through, but for the most part, it's not nearly as bad as I was expecting. So I would still definitely recommend this game. Like, even if you've played Luigi's Mansion 3 and you enjoyed that, like, Luigi's Mansion 3 makes a lot of improvements on it, but I still think it was worth coming back and playing this one.
I think especially with how short the game is, like, I don't think you can go wrong playing it.
Okay, I suppose it's just me left.
Yeah.
I mean, I basically was going to echo everything everyone else said. It's a really fun, short game that I still think holds up really well even by today's standards. Because kind of like Kyle said, you do expect these older Nintendo games to be a little bit wacky in some of the design choices. But I'd say for the most part, this one holds up really, really well. And I think it's definitely worth people playing again for sure. Or playing for the first time if they haven't. It's readily available. You can go and buy your online copy. But yeah, it's fun. It's pretty short, and it's a good little game to pass the time with.
Is this the first time we've all been on exactly the same page?
Just about to say that. It is indeed. The closest we came before this was Beyond Good and Evil.
Now tune in for next episode where we try to kill each other over whatever game we end up playing.
Absolutely.
God, I really did expect when we started the show that it was going to be more, we would be more at each other's throats about our opinions, especially with the Sunshine episode, with the way me and Max were talking to each other in chat, like, this game fucking sucks, and he was like, no, it fucking doesn't, fuck you. Like, but when it actually comes around to doing the episodes, we all want to be taken seriously, so we don't resort to that, and we end up having a unexpectedly civilized conversation, and then it's nothing like what
it's almost like calling someone a fuckhead isn't a good way to convince them you're right.
Maybe.
Almost.
It's like the videos of the dogs between gates just barking at each other and at each other, and then they open it up and they just kind of walk away.
But what I'm saying is, maybe if we want the views, we should yell at each other.
I mean, I can arrange that. I can
Yeah.
I'll happily watch.
I can arrange for that to happen.
Let's do a remake of our Sunshine episode and just be like the Kyle
The
versus
unhinged
Matt.
version.
Yeah, the grudge match.
Yeah.
Name it something
The
really
unhinged.
clickbaity, like gamers rage over differing opinions. Anyway, feels like a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Tune in next time for a thing,
Whatever that is.
whenever that is. Well,
Goodbye.
bye.
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 Nailed it.